All right, so these are your notes on 1.3, and this is solving multi-step equations. We're going to cover equations that have like no solution. We're going to have some where the solution is 0, and basically things that take like a little bit of time to solve. So let's go through this first problem at first, and let's think about what's going on, because we got variables on both sides here. Does anybody know how we're going to work on this equation right here, this first one? Thoughts? What do you think on that? Okay, so we're going to add 4x to both sides, and that will give us, well, we're basically trying to get all of the numbers to one side of the equal sign. So if this is the equal sign, we basically want all of the numbers on one side and all of the variables on the other side. Now, it doesn't matter if you have all of the numbers on the left side or on the right side. You can swap these, but you want to move all of the numbers to one side and all of the variables to the other. So when I see numbers and variables together, like a constant term and a variable term, I want to separate them. I want to move things around. I'll give you a little more detail on that in a little bit, but hopefully that makes sense. So 10 equals negative 5x. And now it's a one-step equation, and I'm going to have to assume that everybody here has mastered their one-step equations, and they just know what to do when they see that. X equals negative 2. That's why we have those mastery quizzes. Now I never have to talk on a one-step or a two-step equation. I just do it. Okay? So let's move on and talk a little bit about this next problem. We'll go a little bit slower on this one. It's a little bit more challenging. Let's see what we got going on here. Okay. This guy. All right. So on this problem, we want to go ahead and distribute. So I'll use the distributive property here, and I'm just going to do all of that out. So 3 times 3, right up here, yes, is 9, but it's x, of course. And then we're going to go ahead and do, of course, 3 times negative 4. Don't bring down the negative, just do 3 times negative 4. And a positive times a negative is a negative, so we're going to have negative 12 there. So that's basically what's going on here. Now we have the equal sign, and we have this first one right here, 1/4 times 32. Well, what's a quarter of 32? If you took 32 and divided it by 4, yes? 8. So we're going to have 8x, right? And then I'll do one more term, and I'll do that in green, a quarter of 56. And you might need to think about that a little bit, or do long division. So what I would do, because I don't really know a quarter of 56, is I'm going to divide 56 by 4. So I've got this going on, I got this. 14 should be the answer. So that's 14. So this whole multicolored equation here is basically the result of the distributive property. Now, what you'll notice is that this equation is not as intimidating as the other one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down so we don't have to look at that ugly equation up top. Is that okay? Everybody understand how we did it? Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to focus on that. And that looks a lot nicer to me, in my opinion. Now, here's the big idea for today. This is the big idea, okay? So this is what I don't want you to miss. This is a fence, okay? All x's are dogs. And everything without an x is a cat. Do you have cats and dogs on the left side of the fence? Do you have cats and dogs on the left side of the fence? Yes? What's going to happen when you have cats and dogs together? They are going to fight. So we need to move some of the cats or the dogs. I don't care. Pick one and move it. What do you want to move? The dogs? Tyler, the dogs? How do we move the dogs? We add 12 to both sides, right? We said the dogs were the numbers. I know it sounds kind of weird. But when we do that, we now have on the left side simply cats, right? We said x's. Let's just say that again. X's are cats. And we said that, like, I don't know, like numbers, like plain constants, were dogs, okay? We want to separate them. That's the general idea. And you won't need this whole, like, story every time, but it does kind of help at this point. And then let's take these guys and condense them down. So this is, I think, 26, okay? Now, look at the new equation. Is it okay to scroll down? My question is to you, is it okay to scroll down? So I would say yes. If it is okay to scroll down, I'll just do this. And I will kind of just look at what is in front of me, not get stressed out. On the left side, are there cats and dogs together fighting? Left side. Well, not on the left side, right? But on the right side, are there cats and dogs together fighting? Yes. Okay, you need to move either the cats or the dogs, but why don't you think about this, okay? You're the person that's running this, this animal shelter. And you need to decide whether you're moving the cats or the dogs. Well, what makes more sense to move in this situation? The cats, yes, because if you move the dogs back over, what are you going to do? You're going to cause another issue, right? So we want to move the x's, as long as you see this over here. This is important. This is an important piece, right? So we're going to go ahead and move the dogs over, I think. Did we say dogs? Oh, no, cats, sorry. Yeah, I'm mixing it up myself. Okay, so we're going to move these guys over here, right, by, let's see, minusing 8x, minusing 8x. Now we have the following, okay? We have 1x equals 26. Well, 1x is just plain old x, and we have solved the equation. So you can give some snaps for that. That was very good. We solved the equation. Okay, cool. So let's take a second. So what I want you to do now is pause the video and try this problem, okay? Try this problem. And then I want you to check your solution in this box, okay? If you feel comfortable with that. If you don't feel comfortable with checking the solution, I'm going to give the solution in just a moment, and I will show the check in the box, okay? So solve the problem and check your solution in the box. See you in a second. Okay, so you've solved the problem. And I want you to know that the answer is x is equal to -2. And here's how I can prove that to you. I'm going to go over here to the check, and I'm going to rewrite the problem. I'm simply going to rewrite it just like this. Just the way it was, okay? And I'm showing you how to do a check now. And I'm going to go ahead and insert here for the x's. I like to use this arrow and show what's happening. And everything that's not an x is coming down. So the -2 is coming down. This is multiplication, so you can either put parentheses, which a lot of you are probably not going to love, or you can put a dot if you want. You can put a dot for multiplication. Same thing here. You can put parentheses or a dot. I like to put the parentheses, but I have been doing math for a long time, so I'm comfortable with that. So now we have the following. So let's go ahead and start simplifying. Well, this right here is -4. Oh, very good. Thank you for catching that. Saved me from having to go back and edit the video. So -2 times -2 is +4. Good work. This right here is -6. I hope I'm right this time. And this comes down as +10. Nothing really happens with it. It just comes down. So when we take -6 and we add 10, we'll have 4. And on this side, we still have 4. And that's when I have a check. That's how you check your solution. Do we feel okay? All right? Good. So let's see where we're at now. We have 2 more problems. I think that the bottom one is tougher than the top one. I'd like to show you the bottom one. Can you please try problem number 2? So pause the video and give problem number 2 a shot. Okay, so hopefully you tried it, but you found that there is something annoying about this problem. This is hopefully not bad. This is the part I want you to understand. Taking half of 6 is 3, so taking half of 6h is 3h. Taking half of 4 is 2, so taking half of -4 is -2. That's probably the most important thing here. Now everything else has to do with the cats and the dogs, separating everything from one side of the equation to the other, but we are going to have a decimal answer here in this case. So what you want to do is you want to get rid of this h over here and probably move it to the left. Now some of you, I know that we have different personality types here. Some of you are always going to want to have your h's on the left side, right? So raise your hand if that's you. You always want your h's on the left side, my side, yeah? And some of you hate having a negative in front of your h. You want your h to be positive, yes? Is there anybody that's like that? Some people, right? Yeah, exactly, depends. But a lot of you are probably going to want to move your h's over, so that's kind of the general idea. Is what I'm trying to show you is that we can move them all to one side or the other side. It doesn't really matter. If I add 2 to both sides, I have 8h equals 3, so h equals 3 over 8. So yes, a fraction for this problem. That's what happens in this case. We got to look at 3 because it's a little bit more of a challenge here. 3's got something going on with it. So let's take a moment to check that one out. So we're going to go on from this one. Okay, here's the deal. Here's where it gets a little harder. You've got options here, you really do, but you have to think about what's going to work for you, right? Now on this problem, you can either change things to fractions, or you can think about it a different way too. There's a couple different things you could do here. Okay, so a lot of people that I'm checking in with hate fractions. They passionately hate fractions. So if that's you, we're going to show you a way right now called clearing fractions to get rid of it. It's not the only way to do this problem. There are many ways to do this problem. There are two other ways I can think of off the top of my head. But I just want to show you one option. Doesn't have to be this way, but we hate this 4 right here. We hate it. That's what makes the fraction, right? So the way we can get rid of a divide by 4 is to multiply by 4. So I put a times 4. Now because all of this is like, all of this stuff right here is interconnected. Do you see how all of this is interconnected? It's like squished together by this multiplication sign. This is all one chunk of the equation in a sense. So all I have to do is multiply by 4 once. But if I multiplied by 4 there, I also have to multiply by 4 here. And because these are already squished together, you don't have to put the 4 here or here. Just multiply by 4 once on each side. Okay, this is what that does. It cancels here, and it makes this into a 12. So let's talk about what's happened. What hasn't changed? Well, this hasn't changed, okay? And actually, this hasn't changed, right? This hasn't changed. But what's the deal here? I don't want anybody to miss this. There's a -3 here. And that's still going to be there. It's still going to multiply in this equation. So what's just happened there was I did something called clearing fractions, and it's kind of like magical, and now the fractions are completely gone, and you're just solving a normal equation. So hopefully at this point, you're feeling like, okay, I could actually do this. I could actually do this. So I distribute on the left and on the right, which I'm hoping is a skill that we really have. So -24n minus 36 equals 12n minus 36. If I add 36 to both sides, and I am skipping steps here, if I add 36 to both sides, I'll have this, right? And something weird is going on here. This is where people start to get confused. So this problem has two interesting things. One, it has the fraction, and now we're here. Well, what did I say about moving the cats and the dogs? What did I say about getting the variables? Shouldn't all the variables be on some side or the other? Yes? So which would you like to move? Which would you like to move? Pick one. Okay, thank you. So we're going to subtract 12n here, and we're going to subtract 12n here. That's going to give us what on the left side? -36n. What is remaining on the right side? Nothing. People get to this situation and they say what? Do you guys know what you think the answer for this is? There's a couple different things that people say here. Yeah, people say infinitely many, or they say no solution sometimes here, but neither of those things are true actually. What you do is, you do what you normally would do. You divide by the -36. And what's 0 divided by 36, or 0 divided by -36? What's no pizza cut into 36 pieces handed out to you? How much pizza do you get? Nothing. It's still nothing. So the answer to this problem is 0. The answer is 0, and it often confuses people because they think it's infinitely many or no solution, which is good because you know about those things and you've studied them. However, the problem is that you're going to probably confuse it with infinitely many and no solution. So remember, you can solve it out and get a number, and 0 is a number. So let's move on, and we got to cut the video pretty soon, so let's try to move on and see what else we can get in. So when we look at this problem, I would like to encourage you to pause the video and try example 1. I would like to encourage you to try example 1 in the video because I'm already telling you what the answer is, so you know what the answer to that problem is going to be. It's just like the problem we did before. But what I want to talk about are the 3 types of solutions that tend to confuse students. Okay, so let me show you. Tends to confuse students. Well, this one confuses people, and that was the first one. Okay, and we have some students that say, oh, IMS, or infinitely many, or no solution. And that's not true. The answer is literally the number 0. 0 is a number. So that's the one we just did. There's 2 other types. There is no solution, and there are infinite solutions. Hopefully, if you're in Algebra 1, you know about these things, and you have a gist of what they are. And we're going to kind of cover that, but we're going to have to go to the next video. So we're going to cut that video here, and we'll continue it in just a few moments.